Hey everyone, my name is Chris Lamberts, and on this channel we talk Kanye West. And today we're talking Kanye's second single of 2020, Nah Nah Nah, and I guess reacting to the song, but also reacting to the reaction to the song. The reaction has been mixed at best. You could say complicated. It's been complicated. In a way that I guess has been building up. Like there were people that were really unhappy with Ye, right? And same with Kids See Ghosts. People thought Kanye was falling off, even though a lot of the opinion on those albums has just kind of improved over time. And then you have Jesus is King, which got a lot of flack, but I do think that opinion has improved over time as well. But Wash Us in the Blood tended to be kind of a mostly positively received. But then with this song, you have people being like, this is the end of Kanye. This is garbage. He just makes trash music anymore. It's been pretty intense, where I think, like with most Kanye things, people are going to hear it and then kind of find reasons to like it. And personally, I was listening to it because it was a snippet on Twitter and not on streaming services at first. Even with the DJ premiere yesterday or radio premiere yesterday, I was listening to it with headphones off, just like from the speaker of my phone or the computer, and listening to it finally with headphones on for the first time. There was more to the production than what I had really heard, and not anything groundbreaking, right? It's not like you're going to be hearing aspects to the song where you're like, oh, that changes everything. But there is cumulatively a lot going on to where there's more nuance and interest to the production than what I had initially caught. That might not help how everyone's feeling about the lyrics, but we did get this fire cover, right? And the lyrics are the thing that I think people are having the hardest time with. A lot of people have been comparing this to Ye versus the People, or even Ecstasy, these other like loose songs that Kanye has released over the last few years that have been met with some degree of controversy, with people being like, I hate this, I don't like this. But even you go back to something like Facts, right, which came out in December of 2015. I was somebody, when I first heard Facts, I was just like, oh no, I don't know if I'm going to like this new Kanye direction. Like, this isn't the song for me. And then you get the Charlie Heat version on the album, which I liked better. And in the context of the album, I liked the song better. It seemed to fit in, especially at that final part of the album, having more context around it, where, you know, this song, I don't know, if it's on the album with more context, it probably has a little bit better of a response to some people, or engenders a better response to some people. But we've seen Kanye kind of do this in the past, where he releases something and just lets it go completely, or releases it and updates it in time for the album. Though I did think this was going to be getting more updates by the time he released it, right? But that ended up not being the case. But we can go through a little bit, because there is some insight that I feel like I've gotten to the lyrics or perspective on the song, just kind of reflecting on it the last few days, some of Kanye's posts. Like you can see, oh, this was kind of funny to me. Mike Dean tweeted this last night. Mike Dean, as you probably know, has been a producer and the mixer and sound engineer for all of Kanye's projects, right? And he's just like, no, you did not mix that song or master. It's just like, you didn't do anything to make this sound better. Like, what are you doing? Like, Mike Dean was not happy. But Colin here said the whole point of the Joaquin Buckley clip Ye used for Na 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 flew right over my head. This smarts. And I was like, what are you thinking? And Colin said, maybe wrong, but Joaquin and Impa, UMG has Ye by 1 foot in contracts. They can't control the content the other foot. He has the high ground. He's a lucrative artist that can financially afford to have a single not do well. UMG loses. And you look at Kanye's Twitter, right? If I would put myself in harm's way to get my masters, they would put themselves in harm's way to stay the master. Having that connection with the UFC knockout, that idea, I don't have to strike back, I let God fight my battles. You also have the line about, where are we? Down here. Nope. Where'd it go? Oh, the bridge. Wow, they edited this in the last, like, 10 minutes. I refreshed this right before I started the video, and this was not a bridge. It was just still part of verse 2. So that was throwing me off. But you get they put themselves in a hard way. The slaves are massive to where it's not Kanye needing to just fight back, right? It's everybody fighting back against the powers that be that are holding people back, like artists, fans, everybody. And so you do get something kind of a counterattack feeling to this song. Like Kanye's really channeling that energy of we are striking back, and I don't have to like actually go out there and fight. I just have to do what I do, like put myself in harm's way and watch what happens, because we have God guiding us, we have the people on our side, etc., etc. So all of that's kind of playing into this. So the song, it's grown on me, which I can see people like rolling their eyes right now. Like, of course it's grown on you. You praise everything Kanye does. I actually don't like 4 or 5 seconds, which probably causes more eye rolling. Like, how can you hate 4 or 5 seconds? Okay, I hate 4 or 5 seconds, which I don't know. It's catchy, but it's so superficial and repeats the chorus so many times. Like how people are feeling about this song is kind of how I feel about 4 or 5 seconds. I'm not as high on this as I am on Ye versus the People, right? I really like Ye versus the People just because I think the lyrics are really engaging, especially because of the fact that so many people wanted Kanye to explain his position, why he put on the MAGA hats at the end of April 2018, and he does. Like on that song, he gets into his exact reasoning, and I think it's thoughtful. I think it makes sense. I think it's like deep, and especially having T.I.'s counterpoints and Kanye getting to respond to that. Like, I don't know if it's a good song, right? But to me, as somebody that's interested in Kanye and in music as not just entertainment, but as art form, as statements, I think that there's a lot to Ye versus the People that's pretty interesting. And same thing with Ecstasy, not the same thing, but with Ecstasy, I felt like I really enjoyed the production and beat on it and Kanye's flow more so than just like the lyrics. There were things that I liked, but I didn't hate that song the way that people had hated that song. But I guess the point I'm making is that before an album drops, or even in the aftermath of an album, Kanye will release songs like this, or has been known to do things like this, that always kind of cause a little bit of controversy in the fan base, because they're either like very superficial pop songs that not everybody's on board for, or they're just like throwaway tracks that maybe feel a little unfinished, that have lyrics that are maybe a little questionable, that people aren't fans of. But I think at this point, you should be able to realize that Kanye's albums tend to be deeper than the singles that he releases. And that if something isn't making the album, there's a reason for that, because Kanye's usually fitting everything into whatever concept that he has, and these are songs that he just likes and wants to release. In this case, thinking about music as statement, right, rather than music as entertainment, I think this kind of straddles that line to where Kanye does have a little bit more of the, like, this is definitely more of a single than Ye versus the People, right? But at the same time, the lyrics are getting into some of the current topics that he's been interested in. And I think just riding that flow of fighting back against UMG, being a presidential candidate, like getting the people on his side, like the line that always jumps out to me in the song is, I don't need to strike back. And just this idea of the counterattack, of striking back, of being in this fight, which is what Kanye is currently engaged in, is this fight with UMG, is this fight for his place in society, not just as an entertainer, not just as an artist, but as a leader, which, you know, in terms of like music might not be interesting to everybody again, but in terms of like Kanye's legacy, in terms of like where Kanye's at, Kanye's journey, this does kind of bookmark or play off of what is going to be one of the most like talked about eras when it comes to Kanye, like his presidential era, and what this means, and seeing some of the music that's coming out of that influence. Yeah, one of the big things that kind of gets clarified looking at the lyrics here though, boy, we wasn't never no joke, all summer murdered he wrote. Like before, this was just kind of mumbled, not mumbled, the lyrics weren't clear to everybody, which is why Genius, for the first few days that this song was out, didn't have the actual lyrics for this. I don't know why it took, because I went back and I listened and I was like, oh, maybe the Twitter snippet wasn't clear and that's why we couldn't hear what he said, because I remember not being able to tell what he said there either. And no, you can just hear Murder He Wrote, which, okay. But All Summer Murder He Wrote's like pretty great. I don't know. There are a lot of individual lines on this track that I think are fire. It's such a weird combination of flow and thoughts, and it's not fine tuned, right, to one specific concept. It's kind of jumping all over the place. But I do think as it touches on different things and as you delve into it more, there's more coherence that starts to come out of it. Like with this before, like this was kind of just like question marks. We couldn't quite clearly hear what it said before. And again, nothing has changed. The radio version of this song wasn't any more clear. Like Kanye did go in and re-record, as we saw from Mike Dean. There was no mixing or mastering, so it kind of like, what's different? And I guess just people having it on streaming services now, getting able to listen to it more clearly, closer. I don't know if that makes that much of a difference, but this does sound more like Ain't Strapped with a tech and something, something, something. But that goes along with I Don't Need to Strike Back, I Let God Fight My Battles, Ain't Strapped with a blah, blah, da, na, 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 na. So Kanye's just saying like, yeah, I don't have to have a gun. I don't have to fight in this way, which I don't know. There's a little bit of that revelation there and kind of some interesting counterplay in like All Summer Murder He Wrote and I Don't Need to Strike Back. So there's something that he's doing on Twitter, right? That there's a sensation that he's causing over the summer due to the things that he's just like tweeting out or writing, right? But he's not actually trying to fight. He's not entering into this physical combat or using a gun or anything like that, which, you know, sending drones in, doing everything they didn't allow. There's very much like a sense of rebellion and a sense of uprising that comes from this chorus that maybe on the first listen or few listens, the lines might feel a little all over the place. But I think as I'm sitting with it longer, I'm starting to feel more of that coherence and continuity running through not just this chorus, but into the verse. So then with verse 1, you get next time you text, can it wait? You're talking to a presidential candidate, which fantastic. How many presidential candidates have released songs while running for office? I think it's just like Kanye and Bill Clinton doing a sax solo on Letterman or something. So I know you think Obi-Wan getting tired now, Kanye positioning himself as Obi-Wan, and probably not just like old Alec Guinness Obi-Wan, which I said the first time we talked about these lyrics, but like Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan from the prequels, which was all about, I mean, all the Star Wars movies are about rebellion, right? But the prequels were really like, I guess you got the overthrow. That was more the rise of the Empire, wasn't it? Rather than the actual rebellion during the main trilogy. But Don't Jump Anakin, I Got the Higher Ground, I'ma Hit the Moonwalk, Like I Seen Tito, Man, something, something, like President Got Vetoed, Got the Sunlight for the Veto, I Don't Need to Sign a Release, I'm a Free Old Man, This is a Video Game, This is a Simulation, Man. So just some things that we've heard Kanye kind of getting presidential, and the simulation in video game is something that he's talked about in detail before, right? Like he talked about it in Law of Attraction. He's tweeted about this being a simulation and life being like a video game. There was aspects to that in the Wash Us in the Blood music video where you could see GTA Online video game characters running around, which, yeah, Kanye and GTA. How do you listen to Lame? They the Imitation Man. Take an idea, live it. Take an idea, did it. Take an idea with it. Just look how we get it. And this part is like echoing. If you're listening with headphones on, you can hear all the vocal echoes that are going on, which is kind of cool. And just look how we did it. Can't tell me we ain't did it. And this kind of goes back to this, right? Like Kanye in the chorus is realizing the power that he has, right? And the power that he's had this summer. And in this verse, he's kind of pumping himself up as I'm Obi-Wan, I have the higher ground, I'm a presidential candidate, I can do these things. I have like people backing me. I'm a freed old man. And I don't just like have ideas. I live it. I get these things done. And you can't tell me we ain't lived it. Like, there's something getting back to the empowerment angle and Kanye feeling like he is on cloud nine, that his power is really like coursing through his fist. No, that's not a great way to describe that, but it's just look how we get it. And this was something that was kind of vague to me. I was just like, this can't be a line that Kanye is running with. This has to just be filler. I said that on multiple videos, but it was Cameron Saritz in the comments to one of the last videos when I talked about this that said maybe this is looking at historically racist cartoons, right, that had been popular in America in the early part of the 20th century, right, into the middle part of the 20th century. And I feel like that's something that Kanye even talked about on Black Skinhead, right? He had mentioned like that kind of iconography near the end and saying that cartoons ain't timeless. Like, these depictions of Black Americans and Black people aren't timeless. They are not something that can stand the test of time. They're not something that continue to exist. We have moved past those. And that idea of what and who Black America is. So it's like, just look how we get it. Like, we are successful now. Like, look what we're doing. Like, now those cartoons, they're not timeless. And then that goes to cop cars ain't mind us. One call ain't wireless. So just, I think getting at the idea that you'll get, like, you can get arrested. And if you go to jail, like, the one phone call you get from jail isn't wireless. You're on like a pay phone making your one phone call. And that's kind of the last image that we get, which that jailing imagery going against the like ascending imagery, you have that tension of somebody finding their empowerment and getting a better place in this world, like a Black man in America getting to this better place, but still struggling with institutions, government institutions, the powers that be potentially keeping you down, which is where this bridge comes in as well, right? If I put myself in harm's way to get my own masters, they'll put themselves in harm's way to stay the master. So you're going to have the powers that be, UMG, Sony, even the upper entities that Kanye had been calling out, Vivendi, and the Burrell group, or whoever the group was, the guy that has the biggest stake in Vivendi, as Kanye was calling them out on Twitter, because it's not just that company, it's the owners of that company, and you just follow the money to the very top. And he's saying that if Kanye like gets in their way to get his masters, they're going to step out to keep their power and authority. But in stepping out to stop Kanye, they're going to put themselves in harm's way because they're exposed. They're now in the light, showing who they are. And when you do that, and when you really try to, how to phrase it, when you really try to reinforce your power and reinforce your authority, it tends to just create more tension, right? Like, how could you do that? That's unfair. And it riles up the people, which then leads to this fourth line. They put themselves in harm's way. The slaves are massive. The more that they try to control Kanye's envisioning this revolution that occurs because it's not just him, right? He's representing other musicians, other artists that have been treated unfairly by these companies that hold these contracts over them. And it's not just musicians, right? It's athletes, it's actors and other celebrities. It's just people in their day-to-day who are able to unionize, who are able to really defend themselves because the people in charge that are paying them put their finger on the scale to tip things in their favor rather than in the favor of the people, or make it fair. So Kanye, who had recently spent time in Haiti, and Haiti is a country born out of the largest and most successful slave rebellion on record, is just really channeling that energy and inspired by that event and that happening, which is a big step up from New Slaves, right? In 2013, Kanye, that definitely felt more broken down or put upon by the powers that be. Like, he wanted to stand up, he wanted to go against them, but he also couldn't, right? He had lost to Nike. He couldn't get his way into fashion, losing out on Louis Vuitton deals, not getting hired by anybody, like struggling to get somebody to support his clothing vision. And it wasn't until the Adidas contract a couple years later that things took off and changed, right? Going from $53 million in debt to now being worth $3.3 billion, or maybe even as much as $5 billion. That's incredible. And it's because Kanye now has that net worth, because he has that income outside of music, that he feels he's able to start saying stuff like this. And that's the difference between 2013 Ye and 2020 Ye. In 2013, Kanye's in debt. He still needs to perform for the powers that be. And even though he wants to rock the system, he can't, because he needs them. No longer. Verse 2, do you want me to get specific? Do you want me to name numbers? Which is probably a reference to, they changed it to CCO. It used to say CEO. But yeah, Kanye had put out the phone number of Randall Lane, the CCO of Forbes, and got blocked on Twitter for like 12 hours, or locked out of Twitter for 12 hours. So do you want me to get specific? And this is what he was doing on Twitter with like the people higher up in Vivendi, right? And the Belair group, or whatever it was. He was naming the names, like being specific about who he wanted to talk to. Do you want me to name numbers? Do you want me to name summers? I don't know what that means. All the stars came from us, all the styles came from us, all the talent, all the shoes, but the news ain't on us. Which that can be both about Kanye's like specific camp, right? Like all the people he's worked with that have gone on to do bigger and better. I said that in the first time I was talking about the lines. Not bigger and better things than Kanye, but have gone on to be successful in their own right and be game changers in the field after having worked with Kanye, or even while working with Kanye. And you look at all the talent he's helped cultivate, help put on, help get into the industry and world, and yet the news isn't talking and praising everything that Kanye is doing in the same way that they might praise a Y Combinator or any of these other Silicon Valley incubators for like changing the world, right? Kanye's still considered this controversial figure that they'll talk about the controversy, but not necessarily talk about all the success stories. But it can also be going broader and looking at, as this song has kind of been touching upon, Black Americans and Black America, and just saying like, all the stars came from us. You look in sports, you look in movies, you look at like the wave of fashion, right? Like, all the stars came from us. The style came from us, like talent, like, but yet the news isn't talking about Black America in the way that it should be, right? Kanye has talked before about not liking Black History Month, but wanting like a Black Present Month, a Black Future Month. Like we should be looking at praising what we're currently doing and what we're looking to do. I'm saying we from like Kanye's perspective, right? Clearly, but rather than just focusing on the like past and slavery and making it about the pain that Black America has gone through. Why do you always have to focus on the pain? And that's kind of what the news tends to focus on. Even in the present, it's not the big things that are happening in the positive way. It's the big things that are happening in the controversial aspects of race in America. All the news ain't honest. Yeah. Do I really have to explain that one? They want to ignore me, rewrite the story. There are a lot of changes to things that Kanye says, false headlines, like Sunday service. Kanye was going to have a Sunday service at a church in Louisiana, and the church, outside of Kanye, having nothing to do with him, like not co-sponsored by him, coordinated by him, did a brunch where they were charging $40 for people to attend. And you didn't get like a meet and greet with Kanye, nothing like that. It was just like a pre-Sunday service brunch. And people were posting photos to social media. It was just like 2 pieces of white bread and a little bit of stuff on a plate. It was pathetic looking. And all these people were just like, oh, look how Kanye's scamming people. He's using Sunday service to scam people. outlets started writing articles about it, like Complex, Hot New Hip Hop. I'm guessing like Rolling Stone and all these other places are doing the clickbait, like Kanye's Sunday service scam, like, and then comes out, nope, Kanye had nothing to do with it. It was just the church that did it. They apologized. How many of those places do you think ran retractions or updated the story or ran new stories explaining they were wrong? None. Even with something as controversial as Kanye saying slavery was a choice, those weren't his words. Even Kanye now frames it that way too, which is wild. But what he said at TMZ was, when you hear about slavery for 40 years or 400 years, for 400 years, that sounds like a choice. But every outlet, every headline that you saw was Kanye says, and in quotes, as if it was a direct quote, slavery was a choice. It's Mandela effect, where things get rewritten and the remembrance or memory of those things is wrong, right? Like there was just an example Travis and I were talking about the other day. It wasn't Mama says life is like a box of chocolates. It's Mama said life was like a box of chocolates, because he's talking about the past tense of what his mom used to say to him, which is just interesting, because when we say the quote, it's always life is like a box of chocolates, but the actual direct quote is life was like a box of chocolates. But that gets into semantics of him speaking from his mom and what his mom probably did say. Anyway, take all the top spots in every category. And this is where the song had cut off before, right? Rewrite the story, take all the top spots, and then Twitter only giving you 2 minutes and 20 seconds of video length. We did get this, which I think everybody had thought that there was going to be like a lot more. Like we were getting like half of the second verse, or there's going to be a third verse. And you just got this line, back in fashion with them boys, can't ignore me. That's it. And then we go back to the chorus one more time, and that's it. So I do think that there ends up being more nuance to the song, at least more thoughtfulness to the song than what people are giving it credit for, and that there are some interesting topics in here regarding Kanye's leadership position, where he's at now versus where he was at in 2013 or even 2016 when he wrote St. Pablo, his continuing development for this as this leadership role, or in this leadership role, and seeing that reflected in songs like Na 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 is going to be good, looking back over Kanye's career and legacy and being able to track the development of this thought process, because it seems like this is going to be the next phase for Kanye, is really looking to be a social and political leader, whether that's through political office or just in everything else that he's looking to do when it comes to housing and building cities. And, you know, if he's doing it in America or if he's going to Haiti, like he said, to build a city, what the next step is for him as somebody looking to change society, and how that gets reflected in his music as he's working through some of these ideas and confidence. So is Na 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 the best single Kanye's ever released and something people are going to keep going back to and interested in? It's not looking like that's going to be the case, right? Like, I'm still going to be more excited to play this than I am I Love It. And I'm going to play this way more than I play, personally, 4 or 5 seconds. I like this better than Lift Off, you know? But a lot of people like Lift Yourself better than this. But I do think that this is a song that, as we move forward in time and people start to look back on Kanye's legacy and Kanye's journey, much like Ye versus the People, we're going to be happy we have songs like this that capture his mindset at a point in time and give us some insight through his music. Because while Kanye does interviews and while he will go and give a speech in public that often makes waves and causes controversy, or even do a Nick Cannon interview, there's something about how he expresses himself in his music and what he wants to express and how he expresses it that he can't capture in that public setting or in an interview with somebody, whether that's in print or via a podcast. You only get some thoughts through music. And I appreciate this for the insight that it's allowing, which I can imagine some people, again, being like, oh, Chris, you're looking for good things to say. But I guess I don't need all my music to entertain me as music. And I don't think all music has to be entertaining as music, right? In and of itself. Like you can have deep songs that are also sonically good, but I do think you also have like there are movies that I like that are much more cerebral and not entertaining at all. Like I don't think 2001: A Space Odyssey is entertaining in the traditional sense, right? It's more aesthetic beauty and thought provoking in what it explores, but it's not as entertaining as say Jurassic Park. But then Jurassic Park, as cool as it is, isn't as visually stunning as 2001: A Space Odyssey or There Will Be Blood. So I do think a lot of people tend to look at music only for the superficial entertainment value. And even if you're wanting depth and you're like, Chris, I love depth, these lyrics aren't that interesting. I'm saying that there can be a step beyond that goes into looking at statements and capturing an attitude or error that there's just something to this song that goes beyond entertainment value or think piece to what this means for Kanye's current mind states and where he's at that I don't know will make it more entertaining for me or more engaging for me to listen to rather than just listening to it the same way that I would listen to I'm trying to think of something I just listened to for enjoyment. Linkin Park's Meteora. I don't know, but that's where we're at with this. I can't believe I just spent 31 minutes talking about this. All right, I'll leave you alone. Until next time, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Oh, and if you want to support the channel, the easiest way is liking, subscribing, or commenting. All those things tell YouTube this is a channel people enjoy, and they show it to more people. We're also trying to get to 10,000 subscribers before the end of the year. We just hit 8,900, so thank you all for the group that have subscribed over the last couple of days. Getting to 9,000 soon would be fantastic and put us well on pace to hit that 10,000 mark. So if you can subscribe, thank you. And then if you want to listen to our podcast, Watching the Throne, a lyrical analysis of Kanye West, we have free episodes that are up on Apple and Spotify, and we also have our full catalog available on Patreon for just $5. So you can get a taste of the lyrical analysis that we do and then go listen to like the 50 plus songs that we currently have covered with more incoming as it's our second time through Kanye's discography. All right, until next time, oh God, stay wavy and keep it loopy. Cheers.